Welcome to the IT Free Training video on shadow copies. Shadow copies is a service in Windows which provides the ability for Windows to back up open files and restore files to a certain degree. Shadow copies was first introduced in Windows XP. Shadow copies work by creating a snapshot of the drive. The main aim was to allow backup software like NT Backup to be able to back up open files. The initial release of shadow copies only allowed a temporary snapshot to be created for the purpose of backing up. Later versions of Windows allows files to be restored from the snapshot. However, shadow copies should not be considered a replacement for regular backups. This is because snapshots record changes. If a file has not changed, the file is not included in the snapshot. If the user later deletes the file that is not in the shadow copy storage, the only way to recover the file is to restore the file from backup. Snapshots also are limited to the space allocated to them and the number of snapshots that have already been created. When the storage area is full, the oldest snapshot is removed. Let's have a closer look. Consider that you have a data drive. Once shadow copies is enabled, you will allocate a storage area. The administrator is free to choose how large this storage area will be, but it must be greater than 300 megabytes. When a shadow copy runs, it stores files that have had changes made to them. Let's consider some files on the drive and then consider that some of the files were to change. When the shadow copy service runs next, these files are copied to the shadow copy data store. Now consider that another file is changed after the first shadow copy is run. Nothing will change in the storage area until a shadow copy is run. The shadow copy service will then copy the changed file to the storage area. The process keeps repeating. Each time files are changed and the next time the shadow copy service runs, the changed files are copied to the storage area. The storage area is quite efficient at storing changes to the files rather than the complete files. So if you keep changing the same files all the time, the storage area will be able to hold a lot of changes. At some point, the storage area will become full. When this occurs, the oldest shadow copy in the storage area will be removed when a shadow copy is run. Shadow copies will also only store 64 changes to a file, so once this limit is reached, the oldest version of the file will be removed from the storage area to make room for the new change. The next point to consider is that shadow copies are not a replacement for regular backups. The administrator does not have control over which files are removed from the shadow copy's storage area. If the file you want is in the storage area, that is great, but if you want to ensure that a file is always available, you need to store the file on some kind of backup media. That concludes the video on shadow copies. In the next video, I will look at how to configure shadow copies in your organization. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.